What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Fisticuff Central. Unfortunately it's a day late. I had a bit of food poisoning, not ideal, so I kind of delayed it. Didn't really want to be giving a half-assed performance, so let's go. Right, UFC Abu Dhabi, what's the crack? Then let's start the main, shall we? So what was it? Sandhagen and Nurmagomedov, of course, and it kind of played out similar to the way that I thought it would. I thought Sandhagen would probably have a little bit more success on the feet, and I thought Umar would have a little bit more success on the ground. But overall, fairly even on the feet, with Umar having the advantage on the ground. Now, it was even on the feet, but really, Sandhagen really struggled to get his boxing. He was really struggling to land clean. He had some success with the kicks. I'd say that's what his most effective striking was, whereas Umar was decent at getting in and, getting the last shot off and making sure that he was winning those exchanges when, there was those small skirmishes. They never really stayed in the pocket too long, or if they were in the pocket, like Umar would transition to wrestling. But he was unable to keep Sandhagen down. Sandhagen was really effective at staying on his knees or posturing up to his knees and then getting back up. I think that Nurmagomedov struggled with the height and the long limbs of Sandhagen, which, he's definitely had an improvement in his wrestling. He showed that against Cheeto and against, I think it was Rob Font that he fought last year. I think it was not. I might be wrong on that one, but so please don't quote me. He fought when he got his tricep injury in August last year. I think it was Rob Font. What could have Sandhagen done better? It's difficult, it's because I think that the thing that really threw him off and potentially maybe threw the judges off was the fact that he wasn't really offensively wrestling. I think that the fact that Nurmagomedov, despite the fact that he wasn't doing anything, and under the score criteria with the takedowns, I know it's a change of position, it's just control time, but it still gives a bad visual when you're getting taken down 2 or 3 times around, and it just doesn't look ideal. Say what you want. If it's very even and that's the difference, which with it being the takedowns, I think it just looks bad to the judges. And additionally, to be fair to Nurmagomedov, during the later rounds where Sandhagen normally is more comfortable, finding more fluidity, getting the rhythm and slowly breaking his opponent down, I think that Nurmagomedov will get in a better rhythm. And, Sandhagen really struggled to time Umar, which it's not like Sandhagen on the feet. He's never really been shut down by anybody. The one time I've seen him completely shut down was by Aljamain Sterling when he quickly finished him, and in that close fight with Peter Yan, where Peter won, but it was a backwards and forwards fight. I think it was like 3 rounds to 2. Fantastic fight, great war. So what happens now? Umar probably sits and gets a title shot, sits in his position. Well, not sure where he's currently going to be ranked. Should have maybe looked at the UFC rankings that have probably been updated today, but I haven't. But he was number 10. He's probably going to be in that top 3, top 4, with Sandhagen falling below him. And yeah, that's probably the fight after the Merab fight. It's the one that makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's a tough fight for O'Malley, but a tough fight for Umar. Not sure who wins that. Depends how good O'Malley's defensive wrestling is, and I suppose we are going to find out against Merab, because that also might be his opponent, to be fair to Merab. I do think O'Malley beats him, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Now, Sandhagen, where does he go? I'm not 100% sure. It's a tough one. He's fought Cheeto, maybe like a Davison Figueiredo, Cejudo. I think he'd piece both those dudes up, to be honest. I think he's just too damn big for the pair of them. Who else is coming up into that, like top bracket? I'm not really sure what fight really makes the most sense for Sandhagen. Maybe like, the Peter Yan rematch. Peter Yan's still, but they've already fought once. Song Yadong, but he just lost to Peter Yan. I'm genuinely not sure. It's something that the UFC brass is going to have to figure out. It might be somebody again in the lower rankings, but they're going to do that to him twice. They're going to make him fight, way below his ranking like he did. Even though Umar's obviously, a solidified contender now, and everybody was really high on him because of the Nurmagomedov name, and everybody was aware of how talented he is. but it would be unfair to put Sandhagen up against someone that, you know, number 10, 11 if he's ranked number 3 or 4, right? Again, which is the circumstances that he was currently under. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm not 100% sure on that. So moving on to the co-main event, where we have Nurmagomedov versus Michał Oleksiejczuk. And in this fight, you know, I was hoping that Michał would do a little bit better, but unfortunately it just didn't quite plan out that way. You know, Shara definitely was able to shut him down with his striking, and Michał just looked a bit sloppy, he looked slow. You know, the kicks, the front side kick that Shara was able to implement was really solid, and yeah, he just got completely shut down. You know, I thought that Shara may gas a little bit, or, you know, Michał might be able to catch him, but neither really ended up happening. And Shara just kind of outpointed him, kept him on, you know, on the outside, did bloody him up a bit, so maybe outpointed him is a little bit of a harsh statement, but he just kind of kept him on the outside. Now, some of those kicks were highly damaging, you know, some of those body shots were great. It was just a good performance. I think that the ground game is definitely a weakness for Magomedov. You know, the fact that Michał was able to take him down. He's not a great wrestler by any means. He's more of a boxer, and it shows that, you know, the timing alone was really able to be enough to secure the takedowns. And, you know, Magomedov did struggle in those moments. So what happens going forward? For Michał, it's a tough one. It's 4 losses in a row. That's brutal. Not really sure. It's 3 or 4. So, you know, from going from a multiple fight win streak to that's tough. Not really sure where he goes. Probably quite low in the rankings somewhere. Hopefully he can get another win or 2 and bounce back. He's only 29 years of age, so he's still got time to improve. With Magomedov, you know, he wants to avoid any kind of grappler in this division. You know, he wants to make sure he keeps his fights up against strikers, where he probably will have the advantage against the vast majority of them, but if he comes up against like a Bo Nickel, who actually called him out, he's cooked completely. I think the guy takes him down and subs him rather quickly, or just ground and pounds into absolute oblivion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far he's going to go unless he really improves his ground game. Like I say, Michał, he's not a good wrestler. He's able to take him down. I think anybody in that top 10 would have the ability to take him down if Michał can. I really believe that. So I guess we will see how that one goes. Right, moving on then. Chito Vera and Deiveson Figueiredo. So Figueiredo got the dub. I thought Chito would actually potentially win this one, and it was pretty close. You know, the first round definitely went to Deiveson. He was just a little bit better than him, you know, managed to take him down a couple of times. Chito's notoriously a slow starter. And then in the second round, Chito found his rhythm a bit, bullied him a bit, stuffed the takedowns, which I thought would be a bigger factor in the fight, where I thought his physicality and the well-roundedness of Chito would be, you know, coming to his advantage. And Deiveson just showed what a good wrestler is, to be fair, especially in that first and third round. You know, for a shorter guy, he's definitely got a lot of strength to it. You know, he looks like a very dense human being. So in the third, then Chito got dropped, which I do believe might be the first time in his UFC career that he has. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel quite confident. He's definitely never been finished. It was rocked. You know, he recovered very quickly and got up. You know, it makes you wonder whether O'Malley softened that chin a little bit. Potentially. You know, we never know under these circumstances, because Deiveson has got the most knockouts in the UFC in flyweight. So the guy hits pretty hard, and, you know, could that power translate? Absolutely. We've seen a lot of guys go up in weight and still be able to knock dudes out cold. Anthony Rumble knocking dudes out in welterweight and knocking dudes out lightweight, you know, light heavyweight, sorry. Conor McGregor, you know, knocking people out of featherweight, finishing people up even at welterweight. Fair enough, Don Cerrone, but let's not be disrespectful there. So, what else happened in the fight? Let me just think. Having a bit of a brain dead moment. Yeah, I mean, Deiveson, you know, he did look a little small in there at times. You know, the striking was pretty even. I think The leg kicks worked for Cheeto. You know, I'm surprised he didn't do more damage with that. Davidson's legs seemed to hold up quite well. The boxing was fairly even. You know, I think Davison was a little bit more active, and seemed like Davison was more powerful, which was definitely shocking. I thought, you know, Cheeto has got quite a lot of knockouts in the bantamweight division. I think he might be up there himself, actually, having the most knockouts in the bantamweight division. So, you know, it was a tough one. So where do I see both fighters going? I think Davison versus Peter Yan will be a fun fight. You know, I think that'll be a good fight. Both of them former champions and potentially wanting to get back into title contention. You know, you win against one another, then you fight in one more fight max, and you're probably having a title shot. So I think that'll be a good move for him. You know, potentially maybe someone else. You know, Sandhagen, but like I say, stylistically, I think that's a nightmare for the Davison Figueiredo. I think he eats a chin. No, a knee to the chin, and then it's good night, you know. Whereas with Cheeto, yeah, he's falling down the rankings. You know, it's a tough one. I'm not really sure where he goes. I think maybe the Song Yadong fight could be an interesting one. You know, they're both coming off losses from both two well-rounded mixed martial artists. So the winners fight each other and the losers fight each other. I won't be mad against that. You know, potentially even Henry Cejudo. You know, he could fight Cheeto Vera. That could be an interesting bout, but. Not sure how that would play out. So yeah, I mean, not much more to say on that fight. And I'm going to cover the last fight because I'm obviously Deadpool, so I'm kind of in a rush and a scramble. You know, I'm sorry that I'm cutting it short, but it's just the way it is. So the last fight, you know, Michael Chiesa, Tony Ferguson. I mean, this went exactly how I thought it would. Took him down, subbed him. You know, literally it was a 2 or 3 minute fight, I think. Fairly even on the feet. I think Michael Chiesa definitely got the better of the exchanges. You know, Tony didn't really land anything, to be fair, but I mean, neither did Michael Chiesa in terms of anything of significance. I think he caught him with 1 or 2 half decent punches, but nothing where he was truly stunned. Yeah, it was just a sad one. You know, I mean, at this point, you know, who wants to see Tony Ferguson fighting? Tony, maybe. He's the only one, half retired. You know, put 1 glove down, kept 1 glove in his hand. I'm not sure what that's about. Saying that, you know, potentially going to try and negotiate with the UFC. Ain't no way in hell his contract's run out. The UFC are not re-signing him. You know, I just can't imagine that the brass would want to do that. You know, especially after such a dominant performance. You know, Michael Chiesa's on a 3-fight losing streak. And, you know, he's not been performing great himself, and then he literally dusted Tony. Yeah, you know, I think Michael's still got a bit of time. You know, he's 36 years of age, you know, physically quite a large man for the welterweight division. It was huge for the lightweight division. So I think, you know, I'm not sure what his circumstances are, but he's probably going to fight a few more fights at least. I'm not taking too much by the victory in terms of Chiesa going forward, because I think he's just a very washed Tony Ferguson that he came up against. So, you know, when he fights somebody maybe that's you know, in slightly better form, we'll see where he's truly at. And yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. A bit of a shorter episode today. You know, I'm off to watch Deadpool and Wolverine, which I'm very excited for. I'm sure some of you guys have seen it. I've been waiting a long time for that film. And yeah, we'll be back in a couple of days with the preview for Marcin Tybura versus Sergey Spivak. Not going to cover a lot of fights on that one. It's quite a dead fight night, for being completely honest. But the following week, when we're in Perth, that's an exciting card. Looking forward to that. So thank you very much. Yeah, have a fucking great evening, I suppose. Peace.